back, everybody. I know everybody's just coming in from the community session, but I have an amazing session planned for you here. I'm Pragya, you've met me before, and I'm thrilled to present to you two amazing panelists, Tiffany and Lindsay, who are going to discuss how to build a revenue team that exceeds investor expectations. Over to you, Tiffany, for an introduction, and then over to you, Lindsay, to run the session.
Hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you here today. I'm Tiffany Gonzalez. I am the head of growth and revenue operations at Microsoft. Before that, I was GM of an e-commerce company in South Korea running their marketplace part of the business. And I'm also an LP and an investor in Stage 2 Capital. So look forward to the conversation today. Lindsay?
Hi, everybody. I'm Lindsay Cordell. I am a partner at Go-to-Market Partners. We are an advisory and consultancy company that focuses on strong go-to-market. And from our perspective, go-to-market involves product sales, marketing, customer success, revenue operations, and enablement. So it's really everything that's customer facing. So we create models and frameworks. And then I'm actually an operating expert at a private investment firm as well. So we're definitely well-versed, this team of two, in talking about what investors are looking for in today's companies that are seeking revenue from a bunch of different sources. So welcome. I am going to be a little bit of an MC, but for those of you who know me, I do not like to mince words either. So I'll be weighing in on a few subjects as well. But Tiffany, I would love for you to kick it off because your experience is incredible. I'm so excited that you're here with me today. I'm so honored. But what we really wanted to start with is at the very beginning. Oh, goodness. Before I ask my question, I've got one more thing. If you all have questions, we'd love for this to be interactive. Feel free to use the Q&A, which is like right below the little chat box on the AirMeet interface. But if you put it in the chat box, we'll figure it out too. So ask questions, get in on it. We'd love to hear more. But while you are thinking of those great questions, let's start with the top one. Tiffany, what are investors looking for in a revenue team today?
Yeah, I mean, this is the question of the day, right? Investing has really shifted over the last couple of years. Going and seeking capital and getting capital has really evolved. Kind of the playbook that people used in the past is not working exactly the same way it is today. And, being an operator myself and then moving into my LP and my investing space, I steered away from some of the kind of normative responses that people get around like building a great, pitch deck and various things like that. And I really wanted to get into the meat of like the founder and the revenue team itself, right? And so when I started thinking through what are the things that investors are really looking for in that founding team, that revenue team, is really understanding, and I'm going to start this at the top, P&L fluency. And I'm not going to go through what that means, but it's one of those spaces that so many of us and so many founders and innovators that I've met, they get brilliant ideas and they're building technology. They're building and creating new ideas, and going back to that understanding of P&L fluency and being able to speak through the numbers of your business become foundational for the revenue team to align on. So this is not just the CFO or the CEO or the founder. This is the entire revenue team. I would say the next one is really making sure that you're hiring the right team based on the stage of your company. Hiring profiles grow and change and evolve, and having a methodology to understand what your hiring looks like, right? At a very high level, I would also say it's not just a focus on tech. Tech is only as good as what it delivers. And you can think back to companies that are maybe technically brilliant over the last 30 years that none of us talk about today, that arguably may have had better tech than those who are air quotes successful today. So focusing on the customer problem that you're delivering and is a value you can deliver ongoing, right? So when you think about some of those key qualities, then you kind of you go into that next area, which is delivering results that exceed investor expectations. And this is still from that aspect of a revenue team, right? One of my biggest things is please be yourself right? When you walk into a room, when you walk into a boardroom, into anything like that, your revenue team needs to know its strengths, weaknesses. They need to be themselves. And you have your business board of advisors, also have your personal board of advisors that can help you as an individual and as a leader look around corners, right? Understanding that what you potentially did at XYZ company in the past isn't necessarily going to be what's successful today. And then really understanding that revenue is a team sport, right? It's not one person, it's not the hero revenue leader or the hero salesperson or just the founder of the company. Revenue, as you pull it together, is a team sport. And so once you have this P&L fluency, once you have this kind of understanding of the methodology of hiring your team, you have the understood strengths and weaknesses of your revenue and leadership team, then it's really around how do we start demonstrating growth potential and scalability. And that's around go-to-market fit, as well as product market fit, and having the unit economics and mechanics behind those things. And before I nerd out there, Lindsay, I have a feeling there's some things that you'd love to add to this. I'd love to open up the space for you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So when we were researching, so we have a book out, Move, the 4-question go-to-market framework, and we were interviewing a lot of successful investors and operators while we built that book. And Kelly Ford Buckley, she's a growth equity investor at Edison Partners. She had an amazing quote where she said, when we walk in the room and we're talking to a team that we're potentially going to invest in, if she notices that people are stepping on top of each other, or if we talk about or people are blaming each other, like, oh yeah, like head of CS is new, just getting their feet wet. I mean, that is a sparkling indication of go-to-market issues within the organization. And in this day and age, we're like, investors aren't looking for fixer-uppers as much from this perspective. They want to know that you know what you're doing and you know how to create a great business. Sure, maybe you don't have the amount of money you need to make it as phenomenal as it could be. But this idea of let's have this fixer-upper with massive gaps and understanding of your financial situation. And, oh, I'm really great at tech, I'm just not good at business. That's less and less being approached as something that's a great idea in this investment environment. There's too much risk. There's too much at stake. So these are some of the things that I've noticed changing when we think about that leadership team. The other thing you mentioned, P&L. So when I came into SaaS, so I came into SaaS relatively late, just about 4 years ago. Before that, I had been working for private companies and public companies. And so I asked, I was taking over for RevOps, and I asked the question, I was like, well, what is ARR? And everybody laughed. They couldn't believe that the head of RevOps no. And I was like, no, but what's our EBITDA? And what is our profitability margin on these solutions? And everybody looked at me like I was crazy. And I think we're seeing that come together now for the first time, where it isn't just about NRR and ARR. We really are looking at the full P&L. Do you understand where your budget is going? Do you understand where if we invested X more, we can project out that we are going to deliver 10X on that investment? And when you can show that competency and proficiency, that's going to put a lot of confidence in your investors to say, not only are these people great at building great product in a market that has interest and need in it, which is proven, by the way, but also they know the financial aspect of what they're doing. And that just creates a lot of trust that is going to pay off dividends, not only in the day that you get the check, but in every subsequent board meeting you have that involves that investor group going forward. Every meeting you have, that confidence will pay dividends for years.
One of the things that you said, Lindsay, that I want to grab onto, because this is really the mantra that I ride over and over and over when I'm talking with founders, and this is how I've led my teams to scale businesses into the billions of dollars, right? When you think about that kind of that revenue fluency, right? There's the P&L, and there's all of those metrics that we talk about in SaaS all of the time: ARR, MRR, net retention. You start going down all of these things, and we all know how to calculate them, or there's a ton of different links and all of that stuff out there on how to calculate them. What I'm looking for is, does the revenue team understand the unit economics of growth of their business? Right? And the unit economics of growth of their business are not what a XYZ big company does, and it is specific and unique to your business, right? And that's where this becomes really difficult, but also incredibly important and powerful, right? Because when you think about product market fit, and there's about 1 million books about product market fit, the thing that I'm looking for as an investor is, does the company understand the leading indicators of retention, right? And what I mean by that is, it's a behavior that is true for your business that allows you to say, I have acquired a customer that over their lifetime is highly, highly likely to be incredibly, sticky, retained, profitable, et cetera, right? And you can go back and look at different examples that have existed over time, like Dropbox or Dropbox, I think their metric was something like number of uploads or daily uploads, number of syncs per day. At my business, we were acquiring customers for Marketplace. At my business, it was, did we get them to sign up and create a listing? And then did they make X amount of sales within a certain period of time? And it was very, very easy, because then it became a simple formula, right? Which was number of customers doing a specific event over a period of time. And we were able to track that rate through our business. And that became a North Star for all of us within the revenue team to start understanding things like cohorting and segmentation. And it allowed us to really peel back the layers so that we could really operationalize and mechanize our business to be able to rationally say, if you invest this much in dollars, I have all of the data and metrics that allow us to demonstrably real-time show that we're able to grow, right? And if we're not able to grow, we know exactly why, and we know where it's coming from.
I love that. And I think it's so it is so important to understand the specifics of your business. Like, of course, ARR and NRR, I talked to an investor group once that told me, they only need 8 numbers. And this was, by the way, this was pre-2019. They only need 8 numbers to know whether or not they should invest in an organization. And they made it really easy for people to apply and go through that process. But the reality is that the exact same company in the exact same market doing the exact same thing, depending on the one that is the incumbent and it has a larger market share versus the one that's maybe the new entrant and has a smaller market share, the numbers are going to look completely different for those businesses, even if they're identical products in identical markets. And so it's incredibly important to be able to articulate to your investors what are the metrics that matter specifically for you, back up why you believe those metrics are specifically important for the way you plan to grow your business, and showing a lot of competency and fluency there will, again, prove to them that you understand that this is not a paint by numbers type of scenario where, obviously, if you have a TAM and a product, the people will come. We know that that's just not true. And so there's elements here of really making sure that you can articulate that. And when I think about metrics, if you don't mind, I'm a show and tell kind of person. I'm a visual lady, so I'm going to go ahead and share something with you all right now. But when I show this slide to people at various conferences, people usually react well, because what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that when I'm trying to articulate the health of my go-to-market, I can't conflate, if we're running multiple go-to-market motions, these sets of numbers. What do website visits mean in an outbound environment? Not a whole lot. So marketing shouldn't be talking about their website visits unless we're talking about engaged account website visits, maybe then. But when you think about all of the numbers that we could be bringing into an organization, and especially RevOps, people that are in the process of looking for investing, and so they're trying to get their numbers in row. I like to think of it as, I like to have a tofu, a mofu, a bofu. So top of funnel, how can I reach an audience of buyers? Middle of funnel, how can I show that I can start to activate those buyers? Bottom of funnel, how do I show that I can convert them into sales cycles? I need my pipeline metrics. I need my cold hard cash metrics. And then I need my risk metrics. And I need to have it split out and not try and mush together very distinct motions into a top line number, thereby oversimplifying what's truly happening inside of my business and almost watering it down to the point where whatever number I put in there doesn't necessarily have a ton of meaning, because there's so much happening underneath the hood that's contributing to that final aggregate number. So if I just looked at revenue, irrespective of the motions and the segments and what the CAC was for each of those segments, it stops being meaningful to people looking at different businesses.
I love that. One of the things that, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. Sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I love about that slide, and when you're looking at top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel, those types of metrics also become North Stars for cross engagement across teams, right? To make sure that you're optimizing that customer experience wherever that customer comes. So those become a consistent measure for you across your revenue team, which includes everybody from customer success to marketing to sales, all of those spaces, to be able to have clarity around that customer experience and be able to drive operational engagement that all collectively improve those North Star areas.
Absolutely. I mean, we don't want to oversimplify and call everything a funnel, but there is a process or an engine related to revenue generation. And if you can show your potential investors, I understand my engine, I know where I would invest to get more throughput, I know where I wouldn't invest because we're not sure. I mean, all of that just shows a level of maturity. And quite frankly, you can have that level of maturity even if you're still at problem market fit phase. But you can be in problem market fit until 50 million, until 100 million, until 250 million. The problem is you have to be able to deal with the unit economics or the economies of scale that comes from living in a problem market world while you're, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars, but it's still possible. But when you live in that world, you have to have a really great understanding of the discrete segment behavior that's going to yield results, and then be able to maneuver out of a business that's not working particularly well and maneuver into the side of your business that is working well, and have that confidence to be able to do that. And those metrics allow you at that discrete level, at a go-to-market motion, at a segment level, allow you to see that in a way that a top-line scorecard about, NRR last quarter could ever possibly share with your investors.
I'm gonna say something that you said there, and I saw a lot of great reactions from the audience, but I'm gonna double down on something you said there because it's just so important, especially for really communicating and connecting well with the investors in the investor community, right? Every investor, me and everybody else that I've met, we all know that these businesses are being built. We know that they're not perfect. We know that everybody is figuring it out. And, we all built the cars, we were driving it down the road. We all know everybody that's building a business is doing exactly the same thing, right? The goal of having all of these metrics isn't to optimize every individual metric. The goal is not to make everything perfect across all of these metrics. The goal is to have a clear understanding of what is and is not working in your business. Right? Where is your bottleneck? Where is the thing that is stifling the flow of growth in your business? And then having that data that allows you as a company and as a revenue team to say, oh, if we want to get this revenue output based on all of these metrics, we see that the problem is here. Right? And so having all of those metrics and that common language in place around the unit economics of your business creates a lot of confidence in the investor community that when problems arise, you're going to be able to figure it out. I think, and you said that, Lindsay, and it's such an important point because everybody knows, we all know things go sideways, right? And it's about how we respond to them and how we manage through them.
Especially that beginning stage of a company. So things happen, right? The macroeconomic conditions can change, and we need to be confident that we know what to do and how to react to them. And the microeconomics can change, what's happening inside of your business and how much funding you have and how much customers are willing to pay and what did the competitive environment look like. But what I find so interesting, we did a huge survey of just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of companies. And we asked them, what do you think is going to get in your way? Is it the competition? Is it market conditions? Is it internal challenges? 68% of companies self-reported to us that it was internal struggles were going to be the reason that they did or did not make it. It wasn't the macroeconomic factors. And so when we think about that, as we're presenting our best foot forward to potential investors to get the most possible return, being one of the 32% that think the problem is related to the market is much better than being the group that says, like, look, we honestly, like, we haven't thought about it, or we're not sure. We're pretty sure we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot. And even if you are sure, just knowing the path to, if we could invest here, if we could bring somebody in to help with our marketing, if we could invest in this technology stack that will allow us to have a more sophisticated PLG execution, whatever it ends up being, knowing the plan and presenting that as a part of the package is extremely meaningful to people that are thinking about investing their funds in you.
Absolutely. Gosh, there's so many additional places we could go. I would say the big thing for me, right? And there are a lot of investors out there. There are a lot of VCs. There are small VCs. There are big VCs. There's angel. All of this stuff. There are a lot of different places that you can go to in the investor community. And what I will say is, you build a business to health, like go wide and go find an investor partner that works for you, right? Because that also is incredibly important, so that it's someone who's working with you, who is with you, and being able to be that board of advisor. And if you need that business board of advisor, great. And if you need someone to be that personal board of advisor, go find an investor partner in that space. Because just like there is so much diversity in the SaaS community about how we solve problems and how we build tech and all of those types of things, that same sort of diversity exists in the investor community. It's one of the reasons why I joined the VC that I'm at, is because of their approach and how they partner with companies. And so and that took me a long time before I decided that, right? That was something that I had to learn as I went into investing myself. And so I want to make sure, as people are listening to this, I know it's very intimidating, but spend that time, because the partner that you're looking for is out there.
Oh, I completely agree. I've personally been head of RevOps when we were securing a couple of rounds from a couple of different groups, and the experience of doing that taught me about the personalities of these different groups at Terminus. And then most recently, the operating partner for the private credit company that I work with today. I mean, it is all about partnership for them too. They want to be across the table. They want to partner. They want to be a part. The reason they do this is they want to be a part of the story of another great business. So they want you to succeed, not just for their own benefits, but because that's the business they love. And if they don't have that, if you're not getting that interactivity, you're not getting the advice you want, and it becomes a battle between you and your board, I mean, that's just going to be insufferable for a very long time. So it's a good idea to make sure that you love the partner that you're getting with. And there are lots of different companies out there with different structures and different goals. PE is a great opportunity for a lot of people. VC is, of course, angel, PI. I mean, there's just so many options out there. Before we go, I want to make sure, Tiffany, that we answer a couple of questions. So the questions actually had us getting a little bit deeper into our RevOps brain. So I'm excited. I love it. Yes. So one of them is just about like the tactical management of RevOps. And for those of you who've ever been in charge of shoving data into clean rooms and over and over and over and over again, I know that you can relate, but more and more companies are trying to, in their goal of being as efficient as possible. And we know that full-time employees tend to be one of the largest expenses in most organizations. They're seeing RevOps teams of 2, maybe 3, trying to manage relatively complex revenue operations motions. They're trying to maintain the health of the company. They're also preparing investors. And like I would always say, like whenever we had a round that was starting to heat up, I would have to disappear from my salespeople for a couple of weeks while I was busy getting the investor reports together. But I'm just curious, Tiffany, what are you seeing out there right now in the space as people are preparing their documentation? And, are you seeing 2-person RevOps team? Is that changing your perspective on the type of information you're asking for? And then especially if you could juxtapose it as we've continued to reduce the size of our teams over the past, we'll say since November of 2022.
Yeah, there's been a lot of changes over the last couple of years. What I will say is that, whether it's a 2-person revenue team or a 20-person revenue team, what I've observed is people really coming together over data and over utility of a unified, what I'll just say, revenue stack, right? And every company is putting it together a little bit differently, whether they're using a project management tool and a CRM, whether everybody's doing everything from a CRM. But what I see is a lot less fragmentation of various tools and systems, and everybody's saying, okay, guys, we got to stop this. We have to all focus and come together and start really speaking the same language. So that's what I've seen a lot of. I also see a lot more recognition that revenue operations teams are helping revenue teams who are in the middle of execution look around corners, and that they're not an operations aspect, but really a revenue creation arm of the business. And I'm seeing that really evolve as the revenue operations profession continues to kind of gel together a little bit more.
I love that. I love that you're seeing that. I think that and I have the benefit of working with a lot of small technology companies, and the ones that have gotten me very excited, obviously the AI is incredible, and it makes, there's so much benefit from that. But the other thing that I'm noticing is the RevTech solutions out there. So like an Infinigrow is a great marketing attribution solution, or like an OpenGTM. I mean, there are, these are not me promoting these companies. They did not pay me for that. They're just examples, so you can pull them up. But these RevTech companies that are hyper focused on saying, look, we can't do this by hand anymore. I mean, I am an old school RevOps person I would pull everything out of the CRM and I would do it all by hand in spreadsheets, because I just couldn't trust. And the way I would describe it is I couldn't trust the lens that Salesforce was applying on top of the data set that I knew had fundamental flaws, as it would, because it's people entering data into systems. Why wouldn't it have flaws? But now, as we're seeing this type of technology supporting people, and honestly, AI is helping with this as well, I'm seeing modeling be a lot more sophisticated. I'm seeing the handling of outlier behaviors within the data sets. That was always the thing that drove me crazy. We'd have one deal that took 700 days to close, and it basically destroyed my enterprise segment for 3 years worth of reporting. And so, but now we're able to handle those outliers in more sophisticated ways. So I'm definitely team lean into the tech, lean into what some of these newer capabilities with AI, future projected modeling are bringing to the table. All of that can be really beneficial. And that answers one of the other questions that was in our Q&A, but we are out of time. You can always tell because I stopped breathing towards the end of my sentence. We're out of time. Tiffany, is there any last thoughts that you want to bring to the group before we leave from all of these wonderful, all these wonderful Rev nerds that we've been able to interact with today?
The one thing that I would say that we didn't touch on is international, and I'll just add this little thing, and that the international investing community is rich. It is, it is full, it is vibrant, it is excited. And, the rest of the world, we're in the United States, and obviously we work for American-based companies. But the rest of the world has such incredible opportunities, and people are looking for those partnerships and collaborations and communities. And so as you think about your business and you think about expansion, you think about finding partners, think about that as well, right? Because there is a global investor community who really wants to help bring incredible businesses forward.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, and M&A, we could go on forever. So if you loved some of the things you talked about today, please connect with Tiffany. Please feel free to connect with me. I'm also going to drop a quick note in the chat. For all of our RevCon people, go-to-market partners, we put together a special offer. So if you like what I talked about, or you liked my sheet and you want, I hate to say it, there are 400 more slides like that I obviously did not have time to share with you today. If you'd like to learn more about the go-to-market partners and go-to-market operating system, we have a special offer for you. Also, please take a look at that and let us know if we can be of service to you in any way.
Thank you all.